It's my honor as the representative of the host school to officially open and to invite you to enjoy the beginning and this whole event of the GCGC. The first one was 10 years ago, Stanford. Because of COVID, this is the 8th in-person event. Why is this event important? Why is the organization important? First, because it brings together top-flight legal professors, the law professor crowd, and top-flight economists to discuss our common issue, the governance of large firms, in a genuine, interactive, interdisciplinary way. The stylized claims are the law professors are too quick with armchair empirics and policy, and economists are inattentive to legal and other institutions in our world and are data-driven rather than question-driven. So it's the biases all the way down. So this is the rare event that puts those different conceptions in the same room to share and to challenge one another's perspectives and insights. Second, this event is global, not just in the list of the institutions that belong and sponsor it, and not just in all of you who are here today, but in the belief that the governance questions we face are global, and yet there is much to be learned from colleagues whose perspectives are shaped by the local, by what they know of the institutions with which they are the most familiar. I think this global orientation is particularly important now that we see the temptation to retreat into national or regional camps. Working with the ECGI, over time we have fashioned a global community among us, and I think that is good and never more important. So I want to end these brief remarks with a substantive claim that I think will be borne out in some of the presentations and discussions today. In writing a chapter for the handbook I've co-edited with Professor Bringa on convergence and persistence on these governance issues, I've come to think that the question now requires sort of two-dimensional analysis. On one axis are arrayed the familiar but important issues of the constraint of the managerial and controlling shareholder agency costs with which we're very familiar. And over time, I think we've seen considerable convergence on this axis, or at least stability. Firms are investable, quote unquote, if these arrangements are stable, even if there are rents to be had. On axis 2, what might be called the axis of the externalities control, there has not been convergence, I think, but increasing diversity. And there's been a divergence on this axis. In my own work, I described the divergent paths of the US and the EU on the climate change and sustainability issues. And many of you are going to be discussing the Global South today, which has their own path, which is different on the axis that I've described. So it is a global event, a global discussion, such as this, that helps us to become aware of not only the ways that we've converged, but the ways in which we haven't, in which the ways that diversity is becoming the norm. To understand what drives the diversity we see, the political economy factors that are becoming increasingly important, and to reflect on what that means for our common enterprise going forward. So with that, let's turn to our first set of discussions on the green agenda. Jen Goto from Japan.